Hagerstown, Maryland. Hagerstown/ʻheɪɡərztaʊn/ is a city in Washington County, Maryland, United States. It is the county seat of Washington County. The population of Hagerstown City proper at the 2010 census was 39,662, and the population of the Hagerstown-Martinsburg Metropolitan Area was 269,140. Hagerstown ranks as Maryland's sixth largest incorporated city. Hagerstown has a distinct topography, formed by stone ridges running from northeast to southwest through the center of town. Geography accordingly bounds its neighborhoods. These ridges consist of Upper Stonehenge limestone. Many of the older buildings were built from this stone, which is easily quarried and dressed on site. It whitens in weathering, and the edgewise conglomerate and wavy laminae become distinctly visible, giving a handsome and uniquely Cumberland Valley appearance. Several of Hagerstown's churches are constructed of Stonehenge limestone, and its value and beauty as building rock may be seen particularly in St. John's Episcopal Church on West Antietam Street and the Presbyterian Church at the corner of Washington and Prospect Streets. Brick and concrete eventually displaced this native stone in the construction process. Hagerstown anchors the Hagerstown-Martinsburg (MDWV) Metropolitan Statistical Area, which lies just northwest of the Washington-Baltimore Northern Virginia (DCMDVAWV) combined statistical area in the heart of the Great Appalachian Valley. The population of the metropolitan area in 2010 was 269,140. Greater Hagerstown is the fastest growing metropolitan area in the state of Maryland and among the fastest growing in the United States. Despite its semi-rural western Maryland setting, Hagerstown is a center of transit and commerce. Interstates 81 and 70, CSX, Norfolk Southern, and the Winchester and Western Railroads, and Hagerstown Regional Airport form an extensive transportation network for the city. Hagerstown is also the chief commercial and industrial hub for a greater tri-state area that includes much of western Maryland as well as significant portions of south-central Pennsylvania and the eastern panhandle of West Virginia. Hagerstown has often been referred to as, and is nicknamed, the Hub City. A person born in Hagerstown is officially called a Hagerstonian. In 1739, Jonathan Hager, a German immigrant from Pennsylvania and a volunteer captain of Scouts, purchased 200 acres of land in the Great Appalachian Valley between the Blue Ridge and Allegheny Mountains in Maryland and called it Hager's Fancy. In 1762, Hager officially founded the town of Elizabethtown, which he named after his wife, Elizabeth Kirshner. 14 years later, Jonathan Hager became known as the Father of Washington County after his efforts helped Hagerstown become the county seat of newly created Washington County, which Hager also helped create from neighboring Frederick County, Maryland. The city council changed the community's name to Hagerstown in 1813 because the name had gained popular usage, and in the following year, the Maryland state legislature officially endorsed the changing of the town's name. In 1794, government forces arrested 150 citizens during a draft riot which was staged by protesters in response to the Whiskey Rebellion. Hagerstown's strategic location at the border between the North and the South made the city a primary staging area and supply center for four major campaigns during the Civil War. In 1861, General Robert Patterson's troops used Hagerstown as a base to attack Virginia troops in the Shenandoah Valley. In the Maryland Campaign of 1862, General James Longstreet's command occupied the town while en route to the Battle of South Mountain and Antietam. In 1863, the city was the site of several military incursions and engagements as General Robert E. Lee's army invaded and retreated in the Gettysburg Campaign. In 1864, Hagerstown was invaded by the Confederate Army under Lieutenant General Jubal Early. On Wednesday, July 6, Early sent 1,500 cavalry, commanded by Brigadier General John McCausland, into Hagerstown. The Confederates levied a ransom of $20,000 and a large amount of clothing, in retribution for U.S. destruction of farms, feed and cattle in the Shenandoah Valley. This is in contrast to neighboring Chambersburg, Pennsylvania, which McCausland raised on July 30 when the borough failed to supply the requested ransom of $500,000 in U.S. currency, or $100,000 in gold. Throughout the Civil War, private physicians and citizens of Hagerstown gave assistance or aid to men from both the North and South in a number of locations, including the Franklin Hotel, Washington House, Lyceum, Hagerstown Male Academy, Kmart College, and a number of private residences. The spread of smallpox by returning soldiers to families and friends was a substantial problem during the war. The Bethel African Methodist Episcopal Church volunteered the use of its church as a smallpox hospital when an epidemic spread throughout the town. Following the war, in 1872 Maryland and Virginia cooperated to reinter Confederate dead from their impromptu graves to cemeteries in Hagerstown, Frederick, and Shepherdstown, West Virginia. Roughly 60%, however, remained unidentified. In 1877, 15 years after the Battle of Antietam, also known as the Battle of Sharpsburg, approximately 2,800 Confederate dead from that battle and also from the battles on South Mountain were reinterred in Washington Confederate Cemetery, within Rose Hill Cemetery in Hagerstown. Hagerstown's nickname of the hub city came from the large number of railroads that served the city. Hagerstown was the center of the Western Maryland Railway and an important city on the Pennsylvania, Norfolk, and Western, Baltimore and Ohio, and Hagerstown and Frederick Railroads. Currently, the city is a vital location on CSX, Norfolk Southern, and the Winchester and Western Railroads. Hagerstown was formerly served by the Hagerstown and Frederick Railway, an interurban trolley system, from 1896 to 1947. One of the most recognizable symbols of Hagerstown is the weathervane known as Little High School. Named after the German tinsmith Benjamin High School who crafted it in 1769 in the form of a Hessian soldier, it stood atop the Market House first and City Hall second for a combined 166 years. It was moved from the Market House to City Hall in 1824. During the Civil War era, the weathervane gained its characteristic bullet hole from a Confederate sharpshooter, who won a bet after shooting it from a full city block away. In 1935, the original was retired to the Museum of the Washington County Historical Society, later to be moved to its present display in the Jonathan Hager House. An exact replica has replaced it atop City Hall. The weathervane has been depicted in the city's annual Mummers Day Parade by Charles Harry Rittenhouse, Sr. sporting the necessary accoutrements of a German mercenary soldier. Little High School was at one time the mascot of North Hagerstown High School. Hagerstown's first aircraft production came in World War I with the Maryland Press Steel Company building the Bellanca CD biplane in hopes of securing government contracts. From 1931 to 1984, Fairchild Aircraft was based in Hagerstown and was by far the area's most prominent employer. The importance of the company to the city and the country as a whole earned Hagerstown its former nickname home of the Flying Boxcar. Fairchild moved to Hagerstown from Farmingdale, New York, in 1931 after Sherman Fairchild purchased a majority stock interest in Kreider-Reisner Aircraft Company of Hagerstown in 1929. Among Fairchild's products during World War II were PT-19, PT-23, PT-26 and AT-21 trainers, C-82 packet cargo planes and missiles. At its height in World War II, Fairchild employed directly and indirectly up to 80% of Hagerstown's workforce or roughly 10,000 people. In the post-war era, Fairchild continued to produce aircraft in Hagerstown such as C-123 Provider, Fairchild F-27 and Fairchild Hiller FH-227, FH-1100, C-26 Metroliner, UC-26 Metroliner, Fairchild Republic A-10 Thunderbolt II, and the Fairchild T-46 jet trainer. All production ceased in Hagerstown in 1984 and the company moved elsewhere. Presently, the company is based in San Antonio, Texas and after a series of mergers and acquisitions, is known as M7 Aerospace. The Hagerstown Aviation Museum shows many of these original aircraft. Among the ones on display are 1939 F-24 UC-61C, 1945 C-82A, 1943 Pints 19A, and the 1953 C-119. The museum is located near Hagerstown Regional Airport in the airport's former terminal. Hagerstown is also the birthplace of Salisbury, Maryland-based Piedmont Airlines, which started out as Henson Aviation. It was founded by Richard A. Henson in 1931. Today, Hagerstown Regional Airport Richard A. Henson Field is named as such in honor of the airline's founder. Today, only small to medium-sized aviation companies remain in the area, for example, Sierra Nevada Corporation, a defense electronics engineering and manufacturing contractor. Hagerstown is located at 39 degrees 3834 and 77 degrees 4312 W, 39.64278 degrees north, 77.72000 degrees west, 39.64278, minus 77.72000. It is south of the Mason-Dixon line and north of the Potomac River and between the Blue Ridge and Allegheny Mountains in a part of the Great Appalachian Valley known regionally as Cumberland Valley and locally as Hagerstown Valley. The community also lies within close proximity of Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and Virginia. Hagerstown, by driving distance, is approximately 70 miles northwest of Washington, D.C., 72 miles west-northwest of Baltimore, Maryland, and 74 miles southwest of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. According to the United States Census Bureau, the city has a total area of 11.80 square miles, of which 11.79 square miles is land and 0.01 square miles is water. Major waterways within Hagerstown include Hamilton Run and Antietam Creek that are tributaries of the Potomac River. Natural landscape around Hagerstown consists of low, rolling hills with elevations of 500 feet to 800 feet above sea level and rich, fertile land that is well suited and utilized for dairy farming, cornfields, and fruit orchards typical of mid-Atlantic agriculture. Hagerstown is situated in the transition between the humid subtropical climate zone and the humid continental climate zone, with hot, humid summers and cool to moderately cold winters. As of the census of 2010, there were 39,662 people, 16,449 households, and 9,436 families residing in the city. The population density was 3,364.0 inhabitants per square mile. There were 18,682 housing units at an average density of 1,584.6 per square mile. The racial makeup of the city was 75.8% white, 15.5% African American, 0.3% Native American, 1.3% Asian, 0.1% Pacific Islander, 2.1% from other races, and 5.1% from two or more races. Hispanic or Latino of any race were 5.6% of the population. There were 16,449 households, of which 32.9% had children under the age of 18 living with him, 33.6% were married couples living together, 18.4% had a female householder with no husband present, 5.4% had a male householder with no wife present, and 42.6% were non-families. 34.5% of all households were made up of individuals and 10.5% had someone living alone who was 65 years of age or older. The average household size was 2.36 and the average family size was 3.04. The median age in the city was 34.5 years. 25.8% of residents were under the age of 18, 9.5% were between the ages of 18 and 24, 28.6% were from 25 to 44, 24% were from 45 to 64, and 12.3% were 65 years of age or older. The gender makeup of the city was 47.3% male and 52.7% female. Between 2011 and 2015, 26.8% of the population lived in poverty. As of the U.S. Census of 2000, there were 36,687 people, 15,849 households, and 9,081 families residing in the city. Updated July 1, 2008 census estimates reflect Hagerstown having 39,728 people, an increase of 8.3% from the year 2000. According to Census 2000 figures, the population density was 3,441.5 people per square mile. There were 17,089 housing units at an average density of 1,603.1 per square mile. The racial makeup of the city was 85.95% white, 10.15% black, 1.77% Hispanic or Latino, 0.25% Native American, 0.96% Asian, 0.04% Pacific Islander, 0.83% from other races, and 1.83% from two or more races. There were 17,154 males and 19,533 females residing in the city. There were 15,849 households, out of which 29.5% had children under the age of 18 living with him, 36.8% were married couples living together, 15.9% had a female householder with no husband present, and 42.7% were non-families. 35.4% of all households were made up of individuals and 12.9% had someone living alone who was 65 years of age or older. The average household size was 2.26 and the average family size was 2.93. In the city, the population was spread out with 25.6% under the age of 18, 9.0% from 18 to 24, 31.0% from 25 to 44, 20.1% from 45 to 64, and 14.3% who were 65 years of age or older. The median age was 35 years. For every 100 females, there were 87.8 males. For every 100 females age 18 and over, there were 83.6 males. The median income for a household in the city was $30,796, and the median income for a family was $38,149. Males had a median income of $31,200 versus $22,549 for females. The per capita income for the city was $17,153. About 15.1% of families and 18.1% of the population were below the poverty line, including 27.0% of those under age 18 and 13.7% of those age 65 or over. The current city executive or mayor of Hagerstown is Robert Bob Brucey, who has served the city since November 2016. Past mayors. The representative body of Hagerstown is known as the City Council. Among its members are Louis Metzner, Kristen L. Shire, Shelley McIntyre, Emily Keller, and Austin Heffernan. Andrew A. Serafini represents Hagerstown in the Maryland Senate, while Paul D. Quarterman stands for the Hagerstown area in the Maryland House of Delegates. David Tron serves Maryland's 6th Congressional District, which includes Hagerstown in the U.S. Congress. Once primarily an industrial community, Hagerstown's economy depended heavily on railroad transportation and manufacturing, notably of aircraft, trucks, automobiles, textiles, and furniture. Today, the city has a diversified, stable business environment with modern service companies in various fields, as well as continued strength in manufacturing and transportation in railroads and highways. Surrounding Hagerstown, there has been and continues to be a strong agricultural presence, while tourism, especially with respect to the retail sector, also provides support to the local economy. Hagerstown, Washington County boasts one of the highest densities of retail in the country. Hagerstown has 2 major shopping malls. Hagerstown's location at the center of the Western Maryland region makes it an ideal starting point for touring, especially with respect to the Civil War. Antietam National Battlefield, the site of the bloodiest single day in American history, is located in nearby Sharpsburg, Maryland. South Mountain State Battlefield is also located in Washington County in Boonesboro. Gettysburg, Monocacy, and Harpers Ferry battlefields are all located within a 30-minute drive of Hagerstown. Fort Frederick State Park, which features a restored fort used in the French and Indian War, is west of the city in nearby Big Pool, Maryland. Washington Monument State Park near Boonesboro pays tribute to the country's first president, George Washington. It is the oldest structure to honor the father of our country. Hagerstown is also home to the Chesapeake and Ohio Canal National Historical Park headquarters. The city and surrounding vicinity also has a number of sites and districts listed on the National Register of Historic Places. They include the Antietam Furnace Complex Archaeological Site, Antietam Hall, Brightwood, Colonial Theater, Ditto Knolls, Dorsey Palmer House, Elliott Bester House, Jacob M. Funk Farm, Garden Hill, Good Hartle Farm, Hager House, Hagerstown Armory, Hagerstown Charity School, Hagerstown City Park Historic District, Hagerstown Commercial Core Historic District, Hagerstown Historic District, houses at 16 to 22 East Lee Street, Lance Ziegler House, Layman's Mill Historic District, Long Meadows, Maryland Theater, Henry Macaulay Farm, Oak Hill Historic District, Old Forge Farm, Old Washington County Library, Paradise Manor, Potomac Broadway Historic District, Price Miller House, Rockland Farm, Rock Ledge, Ruhr House, South Prospect Street Historic District, Trovinger Mill, Valentia, Washington County Courthouse, Western Maryland Railway Station, Western Maryland Railway Steam Locomotive No. 202, and Wilson's Bridge. Within the city, there are numerous parks, including Hagerstown City Park, which is home to the Washington County Museum of Fine Arts, Mansion House Art Gallery, Western Maryland 202 Locomotive Display and Museum, and the Hager House and Museum. Outside of the park, Hagerstown Roundhouse Museum showcases exhibits of Hagerstown's early railroad history. Discovery Station, located downtown, is a hands-on science and technology museum featuring exhibits in numerous galleries and display areas, including the Hagerstown Aviation Museum. Hagerstown is home to the Maryland Theater, a symphony house that plays host to the Maryland Symphony Orchestra and the annual Miss Maryland USA beauty pageants. The city also has the Washington County Playhouse, which does dinner theater performances. The new Academy Theater Banquet and Conference Center, located downtown, houses the community theater group Potomac Playmakers. And the Barbara Ingram School for the Arts is a magnet school for gifted arts students, located in downtown Hagerstown's Arts and Entertainment District on South Potomac Street. Downtown Hagerstown recently has enjoyed a resurgence and now hosts several popular annual events. The Quad State Beer Fest is a craft beer and music festival that features regional breweries, rock music and entertainment held at various times throughout the year. The Interstate Barbecue Festival is a Kansas City Bark Society-sanctioned competition which hosts dozens of professional and backyard teams and draws thousands of spectators as a huge regional event. The city draws thousands every year around May to June to the Western Maryland Blues Fest, which showcases blues artists from around the country. The Augustberfest celebrates Hagerstown's German heritage. And the annual Alsatia Mummers Halloween Parade happens to be the largest nighttime parade on the East Coast. Fairgrounds Park features recreational facilities such as the Hagerstown Ice and Sports Complex and hosts various events throughout the year like the annual Hagerstown Hispanic Festival held in mid-September. Hagerstown is home to the Hagerstown Suns minor league baseball team. The Suns play in the South Atlantic League. They play in Municipal Stadium. To the west of the city lies Hagerstown Speedway, a nationally known dirt track racing venue. Another professional racing track, Mason-Dixon Dragway, is located just southeast of Hagerstown. Hagerstown shares a radio market, the 166th largest in the United States, with Chambersburg, Pennsylvania, and Waynesboro, Pennsylvania. The following box contains all of the radio stations in the area. Hagerstown is the base for 4 television stations and shares a designated market area, the 9th largest in the United States, with Washington, D.C. Hagerstown used to have one high school called Hagerstown High School. Hagerstown High went on to become North Hagerstown High School and South Hagerstown High School. Hagerstown-Martinsburg, MDWV-MSA consists of 3 counties. The primary cities are Hagerstown, MD and Martinsburg, West Virginia. Other communities in the MSA include Halfway, MD, Paramount Long Meadow, MD, Fountainhead Orchard Hills, MD, Robinwood, MD, Morgansville, MD, Boonesboro, MD, Smithsburg, MD, Williamsport, MD, Falling Waters, West Virginia, Hedgesville, West Virginia, Inwood, West Virginia and Berkeley Springs, West Virginia. The metropolitan area's population in 2000 was 222,771. The 2008 estimate is 263,753, making Greater Hagerstown the 169th largest metropolitan area in the United States. The growth rate from 2000 to 2008 is plus 18.4%, the 48th highest among metropolitan areas in the entire country and the highest in Maryland. The growth is mostly due to the influx of people from Washington, D.C. and Baltimore, Maryland. People from Washington, D.C. and Baltimore, Maryland. People from Washington, D.C. and Baltimore, Maryland. People from Washington